Go inside the Crimson Tide with your hosts Rodney Orr and Gary Harris, keeping you informed on everything Alabama. Tider Insider TV, brought to you by Tuscaloosa Tourism and Sports.
And good evening, everyone. Welcome into TITV, as you just heard, brought to you by Tuscaloosa Tourism and Sports. Visit Tuscaloosa. Alongside Rodney Orr, I'm Gary Harris. Well, Rod, I hope that, well, if he did, he'd put in another one, but really no need for Ryan Grubb to even put in a change of address from Seattle to Tuscaloosa, because he wasn't here very long. He has already gone back to Seattle, or is in the process of doing that, to become the offensive coordinator of the NFL's Seattle Seahawks. And this was a guy that Alabama fans have pinned a lot of their enthusiasm and excitement on Alabama football based on Grubb and what he had done with DeBoer at Washington. This is the new guy, it looks like, according to Matt Zenitz of 247 Sports, who is usually right. Nick Sheridan, who joined Alabama staff as a tight ends coach, will be promoted to offensive coordinator. Sheridan will take over for Grubb, who, as we mentioned, headed to the NFL. Alabama hasn't officially announced any of DeBoer's assistant coaching hires. Scott Huff, who was expected to be the Tide's offensive line coach, is following Grubb back to the Seattle Seahawks. Sheridan played quarterback at Michigan and has got a lot of coaching experience to be 35 years old. He has coached at Western Kentucky, South Florida, Tennessee, Indiana, then, of course, with DeBoer at Washington for the last 2 years. He took over as Indiana's OC when DeBoer left IU for Fresno State following the 2019 season. Again, no hires have been made official by the University of Alabama. None. But if Nick Sheridan is indeed the offensive coordinator and you would assume the play caller, what do you think of this?
You know, Gary, I think the best thing to do is to talk to people who know, talk to people in the business that have experience and that know Nick Sheridan. And all the feedback I've gotten has been really positive. I mean, of course, he did have 2 years at Indiana. The second year didn't go as well as maybe the first year did. But the one thing about it is they talk about how he was in a really bad situation in terms of injuries. The quarterback, Michael Penix, had gotten hurt there. But, you know, they put up some good numbers. His first year there, Penix led the Big Ten in passing, 275 yards a game. So, yeah, he's got some real credentials. I think a lot of people look at him. I'm talking about people that are in the know, in the coaching ranks, and they think he's a guy that could be a rising star.
Walked on at the University of Michigan as a quarterback and earned a scholarship and even started several games for the Wolverines. His dad, Bill, longtime college and NFL assistant, former NFL defensive coordinator. So this is a coaching family. You wonder now if he is going to be the offensive coordinator, if he'll continue to coach tight ends, or if there'll be an adjustment there.
You know, I think probably you're going to have an adjustment. I think what he'll do is probably be the quarterback's coach. He has quarterback coached before. He played quarterback, as you mentioned. He's got a lot of experience in that regard. So, again, he is accustomed to coaching quarterbacks. He knows the position well. So that's what I would expect. And then, of course, there's some other moves that I think in terms of titles that may come with some of the other assistants. But so that would leave them needing an offensive line coach, as you mentioned, and also a tight ends coach.
Yeah, the offensive line coach was Scott Huff, who led Washington, and they won the Joe Moore this past year. This is a position now where I don't get the feeling DeBoer will be in any hurry. It's important to make the right hire here. Offensive line is a critical position for this offense.
Yeah, talking to a few people, I think he's probably got 2, 3, maybe 4 guys that he's been looking at that he feels like are really good candidates. I think, as you mentioned, he'll take his time, but I think he's zeroing in on a few guys that he has in mind, and would not surprise me if he had something done in the next 3 or 4 days.
All right, Rodney, Grubb and Huff to the NFL. Of course, they've been living in Seattle. That's where their families are. But this is something that we're going to see more and more of. College coaches getting the opportunity to move to the NFL are going to take it. Jeff Hafley left as the head coach at Boston College to become the Green Bay Packers defensive coordinator. Hafley reportedly got tired of having to deal with the NIL and the portal. You've got Chip Kelly leaving as the head coach at UCLA to be a coordinator at Ohio State, so he doesn't have to deal with NIL. Of course, he's made plenty of money already. We're taking a look at some video here with Grubb. And Alabama fans, I know, got pretty upset. I was reading your board, TiderInsider.com. But listen, this is people's lives we're talking about. I have no will toward Ryan Grubb. I think he took the job in good faith. But when Mike McDonald got hired as the Seattle Seahawks head coach, he offered Grubb the job. He offered, obviously, Huff the job as well. And that's the way it works in this business. You can't take it personal. And it's happened to Alabama. It's happened to other schools. And Alabama fans that are all worked up about it, Yeah, I remember when Nick Saban said, "I'm not going to be the Alabama coach." They weren't upset when he came to Alabama. This is the business side of this. So I'm a little surprised at how worked up people have gotten themselves over this.
Well, and I think it's disappointment. And I think it leads to maybe anger sometimes. And they were certainly pinning a lot of the hopes. But look, this is Kalen DeBoer's offense. I mean, he's. And all due respect to Ryan Grubb, did a fantastic job. But Kalen DeBoer is the brains behind this offensive system. I hear a lot of people talking about, and I even hear media people, Gary, going on and on and on about what a big deal and what a bad sign this is that Ryan Grubb is leaving. Look, and again, I'm just trying to put this into perspective. This isn't Bill Curry hiring Homer Smith here. This is a coach, Kalen DeBoer. This is his system. And he's going to plug in a guy who he feels like has a lot of familiarity, so they can have that continuity, a lot of understanding. We're only, 3 weeks from spring practice. So I think it's really important to get a guy like a Nick Sheridan that has that experience and to have that continuity.
Big picture, Rodney. As I said, this is where we're at in college football with NIL, with the portal. This is something that we may see more of, with coaches just not wanting to deal with all that they have to deal with in college football, where in the NFL you can coach about 8 months out of the year. You have a players' union, a collective bargaining agreement on what you can and can't do. Quite honestly, they work hard, but college football is a 12-month out of the year grind, and the NFL isn't.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, Nick Saban said it. He said it the last week he was here or so. He said, the NFL is a much better place to coach right now. And I think we all knew that. We all saw that coming with the NIL, with the transfer portal. What a headache it is for these coaches. I think hopefully, Gary, within the next couple of years, they get a grip on this and they make it much more attractive for these coaches because, like you said, it's not a good place to coach right now.
When do you think or when do you expect to hear an offensive line hiring?
Yeah, I think it could happen maybe within the next 3 or 4 or 5 days, whatever it is. But like you mentioned, I think he will take his time. I think he wants to make sure he's got the right guy. My understanding is he's got multiple guys he's still looking at.
All right, still to come on TITV, Alabama women's basketball may have dropped a game at LSU, but the men dominated the Tigers down on the Bayou. Men played Saturday, women played on Sunday. We'll have the latest basketball, and also we'll be welcoming your phone calls, emails, and tweets. As always, you see the phone number on your screen, 205-348-WVUA. That's 205-348-9882. So we'll talk basketball, and we'll be getting to some phone calls. Keep it dialed in. TITV will return right after this. Welcome back to TITV, brought to you by Tuscaloosa Tourism and Sports. Visit Tuscaloosa alongside Rodney Orr. I'm Gary Harris. Alabama men's basketball last Wednesday night down at Auburn got it handed to them pretty good by the Tigers. Alabama had already beaten Auburn here in Tuscaloosa. But on Saturday, Rodney, this is what good basketball teams do. They played a road game on Wednesday night, then had to go down to LSU, which is an improved team, and play on Saturday down at the Pete Maravich Assembly Center, and Alabama took care of business. They bounced back in a big way, 109-92. They scored 109 points against LSU in both matchups this year. How about that?
I was just going to say, I agree with you, Gary. Look, after that game at Auburn, where I thought they played pretty well in the first half to the last 3 or 4 minutes, it got away from them. But to be able to bounce back the way they did on the road, I thought that was really impressive.
Yeah, balanced attack, 5 guys in double figures. Sears had 23. Reitzel had 21 points and 10 rebounds, a double-double for a guy that's 6'3", getting 10 rebounds. Nick Pringle had 17 and 5. That's crucial coming off that suspension. He didn't play well against Auburn. He played really well against LSU. Ryan Griffin and Aaron Estrada also had double figures. And Alabama set a school record, going over 100 points for the 7th time this season. They're on bye this week, but on Saturday they'll host Texas A&M. And Rod, let's keep in mind that Texas A&M under Buzz Williams has kind of been Nate Oates and Alabama's kryptonite. A&M has really had Alabama's number, more so than any other school in the conference.
Yeah. No, I mean, again, I think it's another step right here that they're going to have to take. Against Texas A&M, you mentioned that, the difficulties that they've had with him. But, Gary, again, I go back to the way this team rebounded against, and I say rebounded, they bounced back, against LSU. This is a sign of maturity. I think this team is starting to really come together, and I think they'll play well, against Texas A&M.
All right, and Alabama, as we said, will host A&M. Let's get to coach talk, because I'm going to tell you something. this is a big game coming up Saturday because of what it represents on the floor and also for what Alabama's going to be wearing. Nate Oates was at the Birmingham Tip-Off Club event on Monday, and he was asked to talk about the Crimson Tide's alternative uniforms that they're going to wear this Saturday against the Aggies.
Oh, that's right, because it's for this weekend's game, because I think they're bringing back like Petway's team that won. So I don't know if the uniform is going to look like Petway's team. Those are kind of cool. I don't know what they're.
You've kind of been a fan of that old A.
I like, yeah, I don't have it on today. I do like the old A, so maybe we go with, I don't even know what they look like, but I'm kind of fired up for them. The players are fired up for it.
All right, Rod, on Monday afternoon on X, Alabama dropped a video showing the new uniforms. They're more streamlined. I'm glad we finally got away from those baggy shorts that went down well below the kneecaps. These are going to be clean, as they like to say. The biggest change, in addition to the Crimson and Tide spaced out above one another on the front, is going to be that Block A logo on the shorts. And that is something Alabama fans just went crazy about yesterday on social media, Rod. A lot of buzz about these unis. What do you think of them?
I like the Block A, the angry elephant. Isn't that what they call it?
Yeah. Absolutely. And Alabama looking to be angry on Saturday and keep it going as the Tide is tied with South Carolina for the lead in the SEC at 9-2 and looking to make another run in March Madness. The Alabama women, meanwhile, they did not have as good a result down at LSU over the weekend. On Sunday, the Crimson Tide took a 41-31 lead over LSU into the halftime locker room, but the Tide could not hold up, just like here in Tuscaloosa where they had a halftime lead, right? And this is why LSU's the defending national champion. You can get the better of them for a half, but in the third quarter, they just came out and dominated Alabama. Still, this Alabama team, to be able to lead LSU twice at halftime this season, I know it's not the same as winning, Rod, but this Alabama team's made a lot of progress.
Yeah, I think that's a key. I think that's what your main point there is, the strides that they've made, and being competitive with the best. I mean, that's certainly the last year or two they've made a lot of progress, as you said.
And this Sunday at 2 o'clock, Alabama will host Auburn. Really, Christy Curry's had Auburn's number recently, but down at Neville Arena earlier this year, Auburn won the game and they packed the place out. And Coach Curry said this week, listen, I want our team to play in front of the kind of crowd that we have to play in front of when we're on the road. And I think she's right. They need to pack this Coleman Coliseum out Sunday against the Auburn Tigers. Well, still to come on TITV, Alabama softball started their season on a hot streak over in Atlanta at the Buzz Classic. That's coming up next. And we'll be getting your phone calls, emails, and tweets. Again, the phone number 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882. Stay tuned. More Tider Insider TV is coming up after the break. Alabama softball was at the Buzz Classic in Atlanta on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and Alabama created a lot of buzz. They went 5-0 in the tournament, outscoring the opposition 31-4. Incredible defensive plays in this one, including what looked like a game-ending triple play on Saturday against Georgia Tech. They later ruled that it was a double play and a run score, but still, Alabama was dominant. Caleb Beaver, the new pitcher from Central Arkansas, all she did right in her debut was throw a no-hitter. Wow. So Alabama back home this weekend, or at home this weekend for the first time for the Easton Bama Bash on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. St. Thomas, Virginia, and Southern Indiana will be in town to play against the Tide. All right, we're going to get out to the phone lines. First up is Sammy in Walker County. Good evening, Sammy. How are you?
Thanks, Gary, and hello, Gary, and hello, Rodney.
Hey, Sammy.
Great job, guys, always. I just want y'all to elaborate, comment on what y'all think about the new guys coming in, the special teams players, the field goal kicker, the punter. How does it look? What do y'all think about that? Thanks, guys.
Look, Sammy, I think Burnham's back. I mean, I think he's one of the best in the country. I think he did a fantastic job this past year. I think Connor Talty is a guy that really keep an eye on as the place kicker. He's got a tough job having to replace Will Reichard. He's one of the all-time greats here at Alabama, but he was very highly recruited, Gary, out of Chicago a few years ago, and it's a guy that kicked a little bit last year as a freshman, but he's got a strong leg.
Thank you, Sammy. Let's get up to Hubbardville and talk to Caleb. Hey, Caleb.
Hey, Gary. Hey, Rodney. Hope you're feeling better, Gary.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, I was wanting to know the candidates are for offensive line coach, and is Jamarcus Shepard staying at Alabama? Thanks, guys.
Yeah, Jamarcus Shepard, exactly. He is staying. Wide receivers coach, one of the best in the country. I think probably, Gary, you may see him get a title, another title, maybe co-offensive coordinator. But, yeah, he's staying. Again, one of the top recruiters as well. But as far as the offensive line coaches, look, I really don't know right now in terms of names, but I do know from what I've been told that he is focusing on about 2 or 3 guys at this point, and trying to zero in and find the right guy for the right fit.
All right, stay with us. More TITV is on the way, and that means more phone calls and our email of the day. Plus, we've got a couple, speaking of special teams, a couple of Northridge kickers joined the Crimson Tide last Wednesday. We'll tell you all about that. And then there's the phone number again, 205-348-9882. We'll be right back with more TITV. Stay with us. Got a call earlier about specialists. It was Northridge signing day last Wednesday. 5 student athletes moving on to play college sports, including 2 Northridge kickers. Place kicker Tucker Cornelius and punter Anderson Green, who are both outstanding. Preferred walk-ons to the University of Alabama, Rodney. So keeping the local flavor with special teams at Alabama. Always love that.
Well, and again, you're talking about kickers, Gary, walk-ons sometimes. You know what? They prove to be the better kickers sometimes.
They sure do. All right, let's get to our email question of the day. Our email question of the day is brought to you by KDM Service Corporation, serving your family like our family. Should Alabama celebrate, speaking of specialists, Will Reichert as the NCAA's all-time leading scorer, maybe cement his prints in front of the Denny Chimes? That's from Butch in Atlanta. Butch, I understand what you're saying, and we had to cut the email down. He was saying, that since he wasn't a captain, but that's what that's for. It's for the captains. And there have been a lot of incredible players here who weren't captains. You only get your footprint and your handprint in the cement at Denny Chimes if you're a captain.
Yeah.
So I don't want to see that precedent broken. At the same time, I think everybody's really proud of what Will Reichert accomplished.
No doubt. I mean, he'll be honored in a lot of different ways for a long time. But, I know that everyone appreciates what he did, Gary, the career that he had. He had some really, really big kicks.
All right, let's get to a phone call. Rick down in Brent is with us. Hey, Rick.
Hey, how are y'all tonight?
Doing well.
Hey, I was wondering when Alabama has a big sports story, is there any way y'all can be on for an hour?
Thank you, Rick. I mean, a lot of people have asked about that. The problem is, we've done specials. We've done, back in the old signing day, we do signing day specials. We've done extended coverage on our news. We did with Coach DeBoer and Coach Saban. The show's set for an hour, though. It's hard to add 30 minutes to it just because of the way TV works with spots and those things. But we'll certainly keep it in mind. Thank you, Rick. All right, Putty from Alabaster. Hey, Putty.
Hey, guys. I hope your cough's getting better, Gary.
Thank you.
Hey, my wife and I are big fans of the adaptive athletics at Alabama, and I know the women are going for their 5th national championship in a row in a couple of weeks. Wonder if we can ever in basketball if we can ever get any coverage on that.
Well, we've had plenty of coverage, Putty. Our newscast, we have covered most of those national championship teams on the men and women's side, and we've done segments on Tider Insider TV before. So yeah, as they get ready to chase national championships, I promise you we'll keep that we'll keep them in mind, and we'll get them some coverage. But we've had a ton through the years. In fact, I used to do play-by-play.
I was going to say
for adaptive.
You've got
athlete.
a ring.
That's right. I got a national championship ring. In fact, from the men in 2011. All right, that is going to do it for our phone calls and our emails. Thank you for getting involved with us. Well, we're going to come back and wrap up TITV right after this. All right, we got a little extra time left, so we're going to get to one more email. This is from Milton in Tuscaloosa. Alabama seems very thin at the cornerback position. Rodney, your thoughts? I think he's right. I think Alabama is thin at that position. You lost 2 All-American type players in Arnold and McKinstry. You've had some portal guys, and that's an area where Alabama's going to have to build some not only frontline players but depth as well.
Yeah, I really hated that Trey Amos made the decision to transfer and go to Ole Miss, but because I thought he could have had a really big year. But he's right. Milton's right. I mean, I think this is an area when you start thinking about post-spring, when you think about the portal opening up, I think that's an area where Alabama certainly could focus on. But, right now they brought in 3 5-star freshmen. You're talking about Xavier Brown, Zay Mincy, and also Jalen Mbakwe. And then I think the transfer from USC, Damani Jackson, he was a 5-star player. So they've got some talent. They've got some potential. There's not really a lot of experience. And in Damani's case, he had some experience at USC. He started there. But I agree, Milton, that's an area that they're going to have to shore up.
All right, Milton, thank you for that email. Thanks for all our great emails and phone calls tonight. Alabama baseball will begin the season on Friday. The Tide will host Manhattan in a 3-game series. Rob Vaughn will make his coaching debut. Alabama's ranked number 17 in the USA Today preseason poll. 43-21 last year, and made it all the way to the NCAA Super Regional in Winston-Salem against Wake Forest, losing that Super Regional 2-1. Almost made it to the College World Series. Rob Vaughn has a strong lineup, a lot of big bats. This is a good team on paper, really good team. And so the first year of the Rob Vaughn era, will it be Alabama's first trip to Omaha since 1999? We will see, but this is a good team. Been 25 years since Alabama advanced to the College World Series. All right, that is going to do it for this edition of Tider Insider TV, brought to you by Tuscaloosa Tourism and Sports. Don't forget, if you missed any of tonight's show, you can catch the replay at 10:30 following the news at 10, or online anytime at WVUA23.com. We're going to leave you with reactions of Nate Oates and the basketball players to their new threads, which they're going to debut their alternate uniforms this coming Saturday against Texas A&M, 11 a.m. inside Coleman Coliseum. I tell you what, they're pretty excited about it, and I think the fans are as well. For Rodney Orr, I'm Gary Harris. Thanks for watching, everybody. Good night.
Oh, we got lights. Is that it? God, it's OD. It's hard. Who painted this? Nah, this is nice.
Nah, this hard, bro.
My favorite player, jersey.
Those are big time.
I might not get this one.
Oh, these are